Notre Dame, Indiana. Oh, 27-17. We got to talk about all of the reaction to it because I got some thoughts on Kurt Getty. I got some thoughts on Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and everything in between. Let's get to the show. Oh, I know what everybody is thinking. Oh, Notre Dame. They came out there and beat up Indiana. Indiana didn't deserve to be in the playoff. I can hear everybody saying that right this second. Right this second. Indiana didn't belong. So before we get into the dynamics of the game, everybody who is saying that crazy statement that Indiana doesn't belong, I got some news and notes for you. So here are teams that have been blown out by 17 plus points in the college football playoff. Now, because every time that there's a blowout and there's a team that people don't like or don't like their resume, they're like, oh yeah, oh God, look at them. Look at this team, they don't belong. Well, Florida State has been blown out in the college football playoff. Oregon took them behind the woodshed. Oklahoma has been taken behind the woodshed in the college football playoff. You got Ohio State, who has been taken behind the woodshed and just smacked around in the college football playoff. They got bageled. They got 0 points in the game in the college football playoff. Alabama had the dog crap beat out of them in the college football playoff. Actually, in the national championship game at that. Notre Dame has had the brakes beat off them in the college football playoff. So has Clemson. So have the Dirty Dogs of Washington, Michigan State as well. They have all been blown out in the college football playoff. And those are the biggest of the biggest names. So miss me with that. Oh, Indiana didn't belong. They didn't have any top 25 wins. Do Texas now. Do Texas. No, but you like the logo that's on Texas's jersey. That's why. You just don't like the Indiana logo. You're not familiar with it. Texas, their 2 games versus that they could have got top 25 wins. Where are those teams at? Oh, sitting in Georgia right now with 2 L's to a backup quarterback and to a team that couldn't really score that much either. So that's just the truth. And this Indiana team was a deer in headlights. For the second time this season, they got caught in the deer in headlights against Ohio State. Their special teams did not show up, and their special teams did not show up in this game either. Special teams did not show up at all again. And Indiana's defense actually did a pretty admirable job outside of that 98-yard Jeremiah Love touchdown. And there was one play that I thought just symbolized the entire game. That if you could sum up this game in one moment, it was when Notre Dame went for that fake field goal and Kurt Getty ran out there and called the timeout. That was the biggest fail. That was the biggest microcosm of the entire game. You could write the script about the game just from that. And that was that Indiana was not ready for the moment. And technically they were because they got to stop on the play. This was just, Indiana is not used to being on this big of a stage because people weren't paying attention to them even though they were winning all year. Same thing with SMU against Clemson in the ACC championship. When you aren't used to these moments, because when you look at Notre Dame's team, they have players on their team that have played in games where the gravity feels really big since Marcus Freeman has been there. They played the Ohio State game last year that came down to the last play of the game. They've had the eyes of 10, 12 million people watching them and the pomp and circumstance to lead up to it. Indiana has never had that. Now, their head coach, Kurt Getty, is a winner. And these are the types of games that transform your program, win or lose. Because now the younger players in that program of Indiana, because I know that they have a lot of transfers and a lot of seniors, those guys are going to be better equipped for that next year. And their games are going to feel a little bit bigger because they were in the college football playoff this year. So when this recruiting class comes in, when this transfer portal class comes in, and when you add that to the guys that were on the roster this year, they will be more equipped. But they did not have the roster to be able to hang with Notre Dame in tonight in this moment. That's just the truth. So this was a 27 to 17 game, and it wasn't anywhere close to what the score dictated. Curtis Royke finished with 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, but he was largely bad. He was a prisoner of his emotions, and I have seen guys this happens to really good players. Sometimes, and I would say it probably happened to Bo Nix a little bit in the Pac-12 championship last year against Washington, where a quarterback starts slow. The passes are sailing, coming out high, or they're short, or something like that, because their emotions are getting the best of them. And it didn't help that Notre Dame's pass rush was sitting in his lap all game. And Notre Dame's defense is the catalyst for this team, 100%. They stop the run, and they run the football. They do exactly what you are supposed to do when you have a quarterback like Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard is not a superhero. Riley Leonard is a good quarterback. Riley Leonard is not a guy that can come out and win the game for you. He's not that guy. This is a game where this is a quarterback that is that dirty word, game manager, even though that all the great quarterbacks are really game managers, but they're also special. And Riley Leonard's not special. He's a good quarterback. But the question is, can Notre Dame win a championship with a good quarterback? The answer to that is no. Because at some point in time, and this is true in the NFL, it's true anywhere, your quarterback is going to have to be a superhero. He is. There's at least one game, if you want to win a championship, where your quarterback got to put the team on his back and let everybody know that he's the big guy in the room, that he's that dude. And I picked Notre Dame to be in the national championship in the preseason. Everybody told me I was crazy, that they were going to be playing against Oregon and Oregon would win. People, oh, George, you're a homer. Notre Dame stinks. All right. They're one win closer than the other 6 teams who play tomorrow. And I believe Notre Dame is going to beat Georgia. Bet that. Georgia will get beat by Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to run the football against them. Notre Dame is going to be able to complete passes against them. And they're going to be able to do to Georgia what they did to Indiana's running game today. 27 carries for 63 yards. And that includes a 22-yard rush and a 17-yard rush. So that means you take away those 37 yards, they ran for 26 yards on 25 carries. That's Notre Dame's defense. And now Indiana's running offensive line could not keep up with them at all. But there's some bigger things at play. Because Kurt Singetti got on game day today. And people were not happy with some of the things that he said, which were, he said things like, we don't beat top 25 teams, we beat the shit out of them. And there's a level of arrogance surrounding Kurt Singetti. But if you think about it, this is a man that is 60-some years old, that has had stops at IUP, at Elon, and at and then James Madison, and then Indiana, who's never had a losing record no matter where he was. And he's just projecting the type of confidence that he wants his team to play with. But sometimes even that confidence can't put you over the hump. And now Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's head coach, who just got an extension. This was a crucial game for him Because if he doesn't win this football game, there are going to be a ton of people who are then questioning that extension, questioning whether Marcus Freeman can actually do it. And we know, because I've been on the message boards, there's some racial undertones as it relates to him in Notre Dame. Like, it's kind of like, oh, okay, we will embrace him, but we still don't love it. And of course, that's not everybody, but there are obviously jerks in every single fan base. But the question is, how will, like, I was thinking about it during the game. How are people going to look at the teams that lose in the first round of the playoffs, or even the teams that, like Notre Dame, right, who just won their first round playoff game? If they go in the second round and they win and they lose to Georgia, it's still going to feel like somewhat of a success. But now if Notre Dame wins and then goes to go beat Georgia, even though they had a bye, would feel like a failure because they lost their first round game. It's just the mentality of it. Like if Georgia loses their first round game, and then you have Arizona State, they win. They only won one game. But a team who wins their first round game is going to be looked at more positively in terms of the future, unless it's Ohio State, because we know that their situation is a little bit different, than a team who gets the first round bye. So I'm going to look in the comments, see what you guys had to say before we wrap this whole thing up. It says, how many teams with a winning record did Indiana beat? 4. The committee had one job to find the 12 best teams and not most deserving. SEC championship playoff, tons of NIL bonus, no committee. Listen, I believe that we have every single instance, right? Every single instance of playoff where there are people who believe that the SEC is going to win and that they should take up all the playoff spots. But this is not how this works. This is about inclusion. This is about your resume. And I don't want to hear nothing about Alabama not getting in, Ole Miss not getting in, South Carolina not getting in. Don't lose to bad teams, and you don't have this problem. Don't talk about your schedule, because Texas in your same conference got a peaceful schedule this year. So we don't want to hear it. But you guys, though, I appreciate your time. We will be checking in on all the games tomorrow. Make sure you hop in the comments, holler at a player. Peace out. Catch you guys tomorrow.